What up, bitches? It's a misanthropic one, aka He Who Hungers. And I'm back up in this bitch for another rant. Um, Please like, comment, and most of all, subscribe. I'm gonna start doing that shill right in the beginning instead of waiting to the end because y'all are probably tired of hearing me talking. Follow me on BitChute and Brighteon under the Misanthropic One and share this all over the place to fight the YouTube algorithm and censorship. All right. Um, I want to talk about this whole thing where Killer Mike met with um Brian Kemp, who is a GOP governor, and he received a bunch of backlash. And let's just jump right into it here. I'm not going to talk much until the end when I break it down for y'all. We're right here on the New York Post. Progressive activist rapper Killer Mike slammed for meeting with GOP governor. All right. So let's get into some of this shit. Atlanta rapper and progressive activist Killer Mike is facing a wave of scrutiny from Democrats over his decision to meet this week with Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, a Republican. News of the meeting first got out through the rapper, who is one half of the Run the Jewels duo. The rapper and entrepreneur, whose real name Michael Render, posted photos of his visit to the Atlanta State Capitol on his Instagram Wednesday afternoon and wrote about his conversation with the President Trump ally governor. So there, you already see where this is going. In the post, Render quoted his partner Courtney Sills, who was also present at the meeting. Sills described the salt of the earth conversation between Kemp and Render. Render also thanked those who advised him on our talking points for our community and the wider community. As for how the political opposites got along during the meeting, Killer Mike wrote, "I will say I was welcomed with respect. I was heard, and our exchange was productive." Before thanking Kemp and his staff for meeting them, "This is the first of many real and frank conversations to be had," he wrote. Hours later, Kemp tweeted out photos of the two shaking hands and laughing in his office. "Today, Marty and I had a great meeting with Killer Mike," Kemp wrote on the social media platform, referring to his wife. "We discussed how small businesses and the music industry are weathering the pandemic, the value of our skilled trade workers, and our fight to end human trafficking in Georgia. We look forward to seeing them again soon." Render spent much of the 2016 election advocating for Bernie Sanders. Kemp, meanwhile, has been a loyal supporter of Donald Trump. While the two appeared pleased with how their meeting went, Render faced considerable criticism for publicizing the photos. The Root, oh my God, The Root, an African-American focused news organization, slammed Render for appearing with Kemp in an article published Thursday. "I can't believe that Killer Mike believes that the governor of making black votes disappear has any real interest in tackling racism in Georgia or anywhere else." So I guess the real question here is, who was this meeting even for? Columnist Zach Lindley asked in the piece. A cuck. As far as I can tell, Kemp is just following the GOP trend of parading black faces around to show the Republican Party isn't the old white man party it's perceived of being, while continuing to ignore black issues and actively opposing anti-racism efforts. For that, Mike gets a temporary seat at the proverbial table where he can figuratively serve the Kool-Aid. This is fucking ridiculous. On Twitter, the criticism continued, though Render responded with confidence that the meeting was the right move. You can read the rest of this on your own. This is fucking ridiculous. I do like how Killer Mike responds, though. I have two things here. One from Uprocks. Here's Killer Mike right here. More than anything, he was asked about this. More than anything, I'm a Southerner. I'm a black man. I've been raised in a traditionally Democratic city, but my state is pretty conservative. Always has been. So as a Southern man, I connected pretty much instantly with him. Politics and policy don't matter to me as much as human decency and principles. Okay, totally agree with that. And he seemed to be a principled human being when I talked to him. I've only met him once. I was glad to meet him. I hope we get a chance to congregate and talk more and move Georgia to a more progressive place. I told the governor I believe he has a strong chance of being a two-term governor, and if that's going to be the case, I'd like to see minority contracts rise from 2% to between 8 to 10%. I like to see a program created as early as high school, pushes in particular working class poor men and African American men into trades, because over the next 20 years, Georgia is going to be growing. Whether it's the port down in Savannah, where my wife is from, or the city of Atlanta, or the agriculture of southern Georgia. I like to see us prepare our young men to fill those jobs, because we need fathers, we need husbands, and we need stability in particular. This dude, I love Killer Mike. Yeah, so let me jump on here and address y'all for a minute. So this dude, first of all, Killer Mike. Y'all know I've talked about his music in the past. He's one of the few rappers nowadays, I guess, that you would kind of consider him conscious, I guess. He's one of the last few that I could kind of stand, you know what I mean? Because I've been so disappointed with hip-hop, particularly mainstream hip-hop for the most part, but hip-hop in general. It's just been so annoyingly woke. You know, I've talked about this shit. Everyone's on some weird SJW shit. Killer Mike is one of the few dudes that I really love, I respect, because he's willing to go and have conversations with people who disagree with him or that are on the other side. The way I view Killer Mike, he's more like a libertarian in a sense, kind of more left-leaning, because he kind of has to be, because, you know, he's an MC and he's kind of known now in hip-hop. But nothing wrong with that, as long as, you know, the way you carry yourself is my main thing. You know what I mean? And the way you espouse your opinions and put them out there in a common sense way, I got no problem with that. And that's what Killer Mike is to me. That he's the embodiment of that. That's why I don't really have a problem with him. You know, yeah, he has, you know, he doesn't really suffer from TDS like the rest of mainstream and Hollywood does, but he, you know, he's just there. You know what I mean? He states where he stands, and I respect that as a man. That's all I ask. You know, I want to know where the fuck you stand. And this whole thing here is just another reason why I don't consider myself left. I don't consider myself a progressive. I don't consider myself today what is known as a liberal. You know what I mean? Some people consider me a classic liberal, because, you know, I have the old mentality of what a liberal used to be. You know, and I've said people call me conservative, libertarian, right-leaning libertarian. That's where I'm at. And when it comes to Killer Mike, this is why I love him, because he's willing to have those conversations. This isn't the first time he's received backlash. This happened, I think it was last year or maybe a year and a half ago, where he sat down with Coleon Noir, who at the time was working with the NRA. And Coleon Noir and Killer Mike are both gun owners. They are believers in the right to bear arms. And one is more conservative leaning, one is more liberal leaning. So they both had a sit down and they talked, and you know, they knew what they had in common. They were sorting out their differences and whatnot, and it was beautiful to watch that shit. And of course, he got backlash from this whole Joy Reid on MSNBC. Like, really? You know what I mean? This is what the Democratic Party does. I hope y'all are paying attention. You're not allowed to escape the proverbial plantation. You're not allowed to go talk to people who have differences that vary from you. You're not allowed to do that. You have to live in an echo chamber. You understand? This is why you see what's going on today with Seattle, Portland, New York, Atlanta. Y'all don't want to sit down and be civil and say, "Hey, look, this is what we want." Say it in a articulate manner and be civil about your shit. Nah, they don't want that on the left. And this is what happens when you stray, I guess, which makes no sense, because you look at academia, same thing. It got to be left. You can't have an opinion, or you can't go and sit with somebody that's different, that says, "Hey, look, you know what? Let's find some common ground here. Or maybe I might learn something from you, or you can learn something from me that you didn't know." And that's why I like people like Killer Mike, because he's willing to do that. He's willing to go sit with this guy, Brian Kemp, and go. And this is the same shit. You know, look, when I was reading the article and they said, "Oh, you know, this dude's linked to Trump." This is the same thing that happened on The Breakfast Club with Angela Stanton King. This is all these lefties care about. They don't care about what could be done for the black community or minorities. They don't care. And if you watch that interview with Angela Stanton King, I highly recommend it. I did a video on it, by the way, where she totally annihilates those clowns. They didn't even care to ask, "Hey, what are you going to be doing on your, what's your platform about? How's that going to help people in Georgia or the black community?" They didn't care about that. They just cared about her allegiance to Trump. That's how insane a lot of people are on the left. But just to bring this back to rap, because, you know, I'm a big hip hop head. This is what Killer Mike is going through, simply because he sat down with a guy that, you know, knows Trump or whatever. He's getting kickback. This happened with Steve Harvey as well. Do you even know what Killer Mike, were you guys even interested in what Killer Mike was talking about? And again, this goes back to one of my biggest complaints with these people that label themselves progressive. You can't have progress sitting in an echo chamber. It'll never happen, because you're just going to be saying the same shit over and over and over and over and over and over. You got to get with people that differ from you, so that way you can learn some shit. That way you can see where they stand. Oh, that's why this happens. Oh, let's put our brains together and come up with something that benefits all of us. Y'all don't want real progress. Y'all want the idea of being special and running around and saying, "Look, I'm a progressive. Look, I'm for minorities. I'm for..." Y'all don't want the end game. And again, to bring this back to the riots and all this shit, because I don't call them peaceful protests. They're not protests. All right? See, Killer Mike sitting with Kemp, that's a peaceful meeting. That's peaceful. All this shit right here, where they're blowing shit up and doing all that shit. How do you? What's your end game? That's what I'm trying to say. What's your end game? Killer Mike is putting it out there. This is what I want to see. All right, all you clowns out here that are blowing shit up. Blowing up businesses, whether they be white or black, it doesn't matter. You don't have an end game out there. You just want to see chaos. And this is why I'm glad I left the left. All right. But Killer Mike, I support you 100%. You need to get out there, keep talking to people that are different than you. You understand? You're doing the right thing. Fuck all these haters and all these people. I mean, just think for yourself, bro. Y'all know where I stand. And that's it. End of video. Damn, fucking 15 minutes. I was rambling. That's it. Everybody else, y'all know the deal. Leave your love, leave your hate. Most of all, subscribe. And that's it. Peace, bitches.